Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel, Brains and Beauty. I'm a PhD student studying brains and also a beauty lover, and on my channel I focus on creative conscious consumerism. With that being said, I'm very selective about the products that I bring into my collection. And in terms of eyeshadow palettes, I usually have like one eyeshadow palette that plays a very specific role in my collection. So, for example, I have one rainbow palette, I have one warm tone palette, one cool tone palette, and so on. Now, the kind of missing part of my collection has been that I don't have a pastel palette, and I am a pastel lover. Like, that is one of my favorite tones of eyeshadow to wear all year long. Like, I know pastels are super popular in the spring, that's kind of the trendy time to wear them, but for me, pastels are like an all year round thing. If it was my choice, I'd wear pastels in like every single eye look. So I have actually spent like several years now researching, watching every single video on every single type of pastel eyeshadow available on the market, trying to find out what is the best pastel eyeshadow formula so that I can buy it and I can have that one go-to pastel palette. And here it is. So I have finally gotten my hands on the Creepy Q palette. Now I'm going to go through in this video why I feel like this is the best pastel palette on the market. I'm also going to talk a bit about versatility because I feel like that's going to describe why I feel like this is the best pastel palette. And then if you're unaware, this is actually an all matte palette, so I'm also going to be discussing the tricky thing about pastel shimmers and how you can overcome the lack of vibrant pastel shimmers on the market by bringing in some of your iridescent, duochromes, and multichrome eyeshadows. So it's going to be a super fun video in terms of swatches as well. So I'm first going to swatch the palette. I'm going to compare it to any other pastels I have in my collection. And then I'm going to bring in some other single shadows from my collection and show you how pairing them with this palette basically completes any pastel shade I could possibly want, whether shimmer or matte. I can pretty much have that look on my eyes. And of course there will be timestamps, but let's just get right into the video. I'm really grateful there are plenty of great comparison resources online, especially Amy Loves Makeup. She did like a Battle of the Pastel video, and so I will link her video down below. And then she did an updated version recently, so I'll link both of them. And like, spoiler alert, in both of them, this one pretty much wins out. So that's another thing about this eyeshadow formula that I think is really special is I often see that older eyeshadow palette formulas are no longer loved because there's just been so much advancement in terms of like the development of better pigments and better formulas from all different brands. So to have this one kind of stand the test of time is also really special. The closest palette that kind of could rival this palette would be the Menagerie Pastel Pup. The reason I didn't go with that one is because it does hard pan, and for me that just adds an issue to enjoying the usage of that product. I rarely have hard pan issues with any of my eyeshadows. I don't go in with a wet brush on anything. And if I do have like a powder that has hard pan, it just makes it so much less enjoyable to use. And also part of like playing with eyeshadows is the swatches. Like before I do an eye look, I'll always kind of just swatch a couple colors on the back of my hand. So if it doesn't even swatch, it just makes it less user-friendly for me. So that was one thing against the Pastel Pup palette. But as you'll see, the swatches for these are absolutely beautiful. So let's start off with Strawberry Milk. One thing that I really love about this color that I kind of was wondering about online but I wasn't sure is like, what tone of pink is this? And once I do some comparison swatches, I think it'll make it even more clear. But this is a very beautiful pink. It's not like a baby pink or a cool pink. It's not a peachy pink. It's like a true neutral pink. And Strawberry Milk is like the perfect name for it because it really does look like strawberry milk. So it's almost like a pastel red in my opinion, because it's so neutral of a pink. It's beautiful. I have actually already played with all of these at least once on my eyes, except for the gray. And like, this pink is so beautiful on my olive. undertones, so definitely a special pink that I was really surprised by. Now let's go with Third Eye. These mattes are not creamy. I don't think you can find a creamy pastel matte formula, so they are dry, but they don't have much kick up to them. Like, they're not powdery dry. So next, let's go with Take a Hint. Oh, and in terms of lighting, I have natural light here, but I also turned on my ring light because it's been raining all day, and so I have it here just in case the sun goes away again. After Creep It Real, let's do Cold Shoulder. I would say if you are going to buy any pastel, I mean, this is so hard. I don't want to say they're all so nice, but if I would have to say this blue is really special. Like, if you were just like, I just want one shade from this palette, what's the best vibrant pastel shade here? It would be Cold Shoulder. I have seen people with pans specifically on this one, and you can buy these all as singles. So I think you can even see in the camera, like, this is phenomenal. So that is Cold Shoulder, and then lastly for the colors, we have Planchette. I will also say, when this palette first arrived, I looked at Planchette and I thought, I don't think I like that. Like, it's not bright enough. And even if it's swatched, you might think this is still a bit muted, but it is a beautiful white-based pastel on the eyes. So it really does show up more pastel on the eyes than it does right now swatched. It's not like a muted mid-tone shade, it is a pastel. And I was really happy with that when I had it on my eyes, so that is something to note. Alright, let's do Tombstone. That is such a nice gray. Again, very neutral. This gray isn't leaning blue. A lot of grays have like a blue tone to them. This is like a true neutral gray. Void is also a true black. I did notice that Void is a buildable black, which I actually love. Like, that's my ideal black. It doesn't go super dark really fast, but it can get there. Now, as you can see, these are incredibly vibrant, beautiful pastel shades. And so you can really see that they have that white base, but they aren't muted. They're still quite colorful. Now, while that's a bonus for me because I absolutely love color, I can understand the perspective of some people who would not consider this as the best pastel palette because they want more of a softer pastel. So other than the Creepy Cute and the Menagerie palette, a lot of other pastel palettes have really soft pastels that are more muted. So the white base that's mixed in with the color pigment ends up making the color just softer and not as vibrant. Now, that is the most common type of pastel formula that you're going to find because it's way easier for the white to kind of mute things down than it is to be able to keep a vibrant color while still having it pastel. Now, even in that case, I would still say that this is the best pastel palette because I think of it the same way that I think of concealers or foundations. Yes, there are sheer buildable concealers or foundations. However, they always have a limit. You know, there's only so much you can build them up to, and sometimes layering can cause issues. It can increase texture. It just increases the difficulty when you have to layer something in order for it to become full coverage, rather than just getting a full coverage product that is very blendable, and so it easily can sheer out. And that's why I've always opted for full coverage concealers. Like, I have the Too Faced Sculpting Concealer, and it's beautiful because it's immediately full coverage, but it also has incredible blend to it, so that if I want a sheer base, I put the tiniest dot and I can easily blend it out to get a sheer base. So in the same way, these pastel vibrant shades can be easily sheared out to become something that is more of a softer pastel. So let's take this for example. They can be very easily sheared out. And so you can either have a super vibrant type of shade or you can have a sheer pastel. So in this way, getting the most vibrant pastel is actually more versatile for our collections, and that's why I got this one, because I can have it be super vibrant or I can have it be sheer. On the other hand, if you were to get a sheer pastel formula, like for example the Natasha Denona palette, all the mattes are quite light and sheer. And again, they've been creating beautiful looks. Like I've seen people review that palette and I've loved the eye looks that they come out with. It's a very soft wash of color, but I can also achieve that with this. But with the Natasha Denona pastel palette or any of the other pastel palettes on the market that are more sheer can't do is they can't become this. But that's why it's just better to have a pastel formula that starts off being very high coverage or very vibrant and then can be sheared out. So we can take a hint and shear it out. Let's do the brightest one. Probably wouldn't want to take too much of it. But there we go. That's like a sheer version of it. So do you see how you can have both when you have this? And so this is like the perfect product and why I'm so excited to have it, because that's what I think about when I try to get any product for my collection, is if it can function in more than one way, then I can use it more. And so that's also a bonus of products that are versatile. The other thing that's great about this palette is actually the gray and the black. Now, I mentioned this a bit in the beginning. I want to have every shade. So if I were to have created this, I would have made it just like a rainbow palette, or I would have added 2 more shades here so that I would have a pastel yellow. But I'm not against that they had a gray and a black in here, because again, it gives you more ways to play with these bright pastels. So what you can do is, I'm going to build this one up. Having a gray here allows you to have the option of mixing with these shades to create a more sophisticated color. Do you see how that like muted blue has kind of like a sophisticated undertone to it compared to like this bright pastel blue? But you have both in here. You know, I think that's really special. And then the black, I just feel like blacks go well with like pastels because they add that contrast. So, you know, you can put pastel over your eyes, but sometimes, especially if you're bringing the pastel close to your lash line, it can kind of erase your lashes because it's really taking over any of your natural shadows. And so having a black or a really dark shade is actually really nice to pair with any pastels to bring back some of the depth in places that you want it. Okay, so I realized we're getting to the swatch comparison part, so I went ahead and washed my hands. But what I was saying was that I've actually really been needing a true black, because in my Make It or Buy It series, especially in the Murte palette video, so when I made that, the shades in that video, all of them I was able to successfully make except for the really deep blue, and I think that was because the black shade that I was using, this black from the CoverGirl True Naked palette, it looks like it's just a black, but it has a slight warm undertone to it. So you can see that especially when I shear it out more. And you would think this wouldn't have much of an effect, but it actually really does. Like when I did the iridescent multichrome swatched over different black bases, just having a slightly more warm black base really changed how the shift over top was emphasized. So the parts that were warmer were more emphasized and the parts that weren't were more neutralized. So really having a true black base was necessary for my purposes. For being able to mix and work with many different colors, having a neutral shade is very important. So this black shade Void, it is very much a true neutral black. Like this one even is looking like it's brown, not black, now that it's compared to this. So I don't know if you can really even see that one. It's much more sheer, but I do love that shade for like blending out the crease. But yeah, it's definitely different. This is more of a neutral. It doesn't have, I'm trying to shear it out here, it doesn't have much brown in it or mauve in it. This one is more of a mauve. Maybe this EYESHADOW palette, we have this shade, which is more of a satin gray. Yeah, this one also leans quite mauvey brown. So these shadows really do fill a place in my collection, and I'm so happy I have them now. But with that being said, I am going to remove them from this palette. And the reason for that is because I know that I'm going to use these for so many mixing purposes, and I don't want to have to reach for this whole palette every time that I want to use these for mixing. I'd much rather have them in my magnetic palette dedicated for the primary shades. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these out, and I always knew that I was going to do this because when I was deciding to get this, like almost 2 years ago now, I knew it wouldn't feel complete if there wasn't a pastel yellow in here. So I was actually thinking of taking out the gray and putting in a pastel yellow. And at the time, I looked and tried to see any single eyeshadows that were pastel yellow, that were vibrant, and would really work to complete this palette and make it like a rainbow palette. And I found that Twilight from TERRA Moons was the perfect shade for that. And as I watched a bunch of swatches of all the pastel shades that TERRA Moons offers, I also saw that there was this beautiful periwinkle blue that was also one of the more vibrant pastels in their line. And so I knew I had to get those two, and I would put them in place of the gray and the black. So this has been like, I have been waiting for this for so long. And in this moment, I'm finally going to be able to put together the perfect pastel matte palette. This palette didn't used to be magnetic, but SHROUD in April of 2022, that's when they released it as magnetic. That's why I was waiting for it for so long. I could have bought the singles alone, but there's something about having it all in one palette that I can just grab it from my collection and be like, yes, when I want a pastel, I just grab that palette. So I'm really happy to be able to remove these. Oh my god, okay, I'm so excited. So we're going to put in this shade and this shade. So this is Twilight from TERRA Moons, and this is Daydreamer. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Okay. I've been waiting for this moment for so long. So I'm going to put Twilight in Void, and I'm going to put Daydreamer in Tombstone. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. There we go. This is the pastel rainbow palette of my dreams. It's perfect. It's so, so perfect. We have like a more warm row, a more cool tone row. It's stunning. Oh my gosh. Oh, this makes me so happy. Like, I'm so excited to have this in my collection now. Okay, now that we have it completed, I'm going to go ahead, wash my hand again, and then we can compare these to all the other colors in my collection. Alright, let's do some comparison swatches. I'm honestly just so happy with this because I think the only downside of the Creepy Cute was that it was not a full rainbow. And that's where like the Pastel Puff from Menagerie was better. But now that I've completed the rainbow, it's very clear this is the best pastel palette on the market. So let's go ahead and do the warm swatches first. So I'm going to swatch again Strawberry Milk. And I think another thing that I noticed when I was watching a bunch of videos was that the Give Me Glow palette was also pretty nice, but there were a lot of videos where the way you would blend is it would darken on the outer corners of the blend. And I really don't like when shadows do that, because on lighter skin tones, it basically makes it impossible to blend into your skin because it turns darker rather than fading out. So here's Twilight. Look how beautiful that pastel yellow is. I do want to note it is more of a cool toned pastel yellow. So sometimes when I would wear this and I have like other warm tones, it can clash a little bit. So that is something to note. I think now that I have third eye, I could probably make like kind of a more warm leaning yellow by playing with both of these. But that is something to note. But it is super vibrant, super beautiful. So those are the 4 warm tone shades. And when Creepy Cute was released in April with this new packaging, they did reveal that they were releasing a Creepy Cute 2 palette like along with this one. And I was tempted. I was quite tempted, but as you can see in this one, it's also removable pans, but it's not a complete pastel palette. So if you look closely here, Banana Milk is a creamy pastel yellow. So this is a pastel shade. This one is a pastel shade. It's a Neon Pastel Hot Pink. And Shortcake is a Neon Pastel Red. So these 3 are pastels, but the rest of them are just bright shades. So if you wanted another all pastel palette, this is not what you'd want. And at the time, they were not selling these as singles. So I just completely passed over this. But I will say if you're looking for a more golden pastel yellow, this could be an option, Banana Milk. But when I bought Twilight, there was no other pastel yellow. Shroud hadn't come out with this. And I'm honestly still pretty happy with Twilight. So I'm good, but I'm just saying that if you're watching this video and you're really trying to find like what is the most current best pastels on the market, definitely check out Banana Milk if you want more of a golden pastel. I am still curious about having a pastel red. TERRA also has, I believe, a pastel red. And I might in the future actually get a neon red and then play around with that and maybe try to pastelify it with mixing a white. But that's like future endeavors, and that's like a whole nother video. So let me show you these shadows compared to other things in my collection. One shadow that comes to mind for me is the Shadow Play in the Huda Nude palette. I usually come to this shadow when I want like a peachy light orange shade. So this shade is definitely not a true orange. I think you can definitely tell the difference. It's peachy. It's not the same as Strawberry Milk. Another shadow that I use as like a light toned shade is from the Wet n Wild Cooked on Vinyl. So this one is lighter than the orange here, as you can see, and it is more pastel, but I think it still has a decent amount of color to it. Like, I actually really like this shade. Now let me pull out my Brights palette. So this is what I use for vibrant eyeshadows, and let's compare the vibrant yellow in here to Twilight. So I think you can see how like they're both vibrant, but Twilight is a pastel and this is like a golden mid-tone yellow. And then there's this kind of limey green in here, which I am curious how it compares. It's not as green as Take a Hint, and it's definitely more sheer. Like, it's not as high coverage. I think that's the thing that when I'm looking at these and I'm looking at these are not as pigmented or high coverage as these ones, even though they are bright. Like, they're bright shades, but they're a bit more sheer than these. These are like vibrant and pigmented and like pastels. So they kind of just have it all. And I think you can really see that, how like these are more muted than these. I really do want to kind of show you how this is really different of a pink than any of the ones that I've really seen before. That's definitely more of a purpley pink. This is more of like that light nude pink that you see in a lot of palettes. So I have this single satin shade from Sephora, and I feel like this is what I think of when I think of pink. Maybe even in the Sprites palette, this kind of mid-tone rosy pink. I also have this Tarte chromatic eyeshadow in Rosé. This is a duochrome. I'm just going to swatch it in between these two. So like this is what I think of when I think of pink, and I really feel like Strawberry Milk has a really special neutral pink tone to it, and I love it. Like, I love that it is that unique. Okay, so I think that's it for the comparisons for the warm row that we have over here. I think that the red is really special. These do have a similar undertone to the shades here. Like, I can get something a bit similar, but it's not that beautiful white-based pastel that will pop on the eyes as a pastel. These will often blend out as like a mid-tone or a light tone color. So definitely really unique special shadows to add to my collection. And now let's do the cool tone side. So I'll start off with swatching Daydreamer. I have been mesmerized by this shade. I even made a nail set out of this shade. This is just one of those beautiful blues that makes you want to have like your whole room painted this color. Like, it's so beautiful. So I'm going to swatch the other blue next to it just so we can see, but I really think they're really different. Like, the tones just give a completely different feeling. Like, this is a brilliant, brilliant sky blue. So these are the beautiful cool tone shades. In terms of comparisons, I do have one pastel matte in my palettes that I adore, which is this minty green shade. So I'll swatch it here. So I think you can tell the tone of this one is still different than Creep It Real. It has more yellow in it. It's more of a mint, while this one's more of a teal. I don't think there's anything else in this palette that really compares. I know this is deep, but I just kind of want to show you the tone of this darker teal compared to the pastel teal. So this one, it does have a bit more green to it when I look at it compared to this teal. This is a very bluey teal for sure. Okay, let's pull out the Brights palette again. So this one and the pastel teal are different. It's like a baby blue with a touch of teal. This is teal. But do you see, it's not like this like sky baby blue. It's very much a sea green. I guess while we're here, let's swatch this purple. Don't mind how messy my swatches are on this side, just in my non-dominant hand. Okay, these purples look close, but Planchette is, again, a neutral purple. I think that's the thing about the Creepy Cute palette. It's very neutral. So I hope this is showing up on camera, but this purple is more warm, and this purple is more cool. I'll swatch this blue. I think this is like a more vibrant version of Cold Shoulder. Yeah, they almost look like they're a gradient. That's really cool. Oh my gosh, that's gonna make a beautiful look if I have like this on the outer corner and this on the inner corner. Oh, it's gonna be so pretty. Okay. Yeah, so this is like the pastel version of this shade. Both really beautiful blues. Even this like pastel teal and the deep teal, like I love doing that with pastels where you can pair them with brights on the outer corners and it just, oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Okay, so these are the rainbow of pastels from the Creepy Cute and the rainbow of other colors in my collection that compare to them. One comparison that I almost missed was actually Planchette compared to the Cleona shade Daydream. So I did a quick swatch right now of it, but this is the shade Daydream. It's more of a bluey purple than Planchette. Planchette is more of a neutral, the shade we saw in the NYX palette. So the NYX palette, Planchette, and Cleona. So I think you can kind of see the gradient from warm to cool. And the comparison between these two, I would say like this one looks so beautiful, right? You're like, oh, it's such a beautiful white-based purple. And I really do like how this swatches and how it looks in the pan. It makes me so happy. But this formula is a bit finicky because it's one of those that when you blend it out, it can be darker on the edges as you blend. And I feel like that is just really hard to work with. I have made it work, but if I'm to make it work, I have to shear it out a lot. Like kind of make it like this and not allow that white pigment to show through in order for the whole like gradient of blending it out to look like it's not darker on the edges. And at that point, I mean, I guess they kind of start to look a bit more similar in tone. At least with this one, I don't have to worry about it being finicky. And on the eyes, this one really does pull like a beautiful white-based pastel. So overall, although like I thought that this would make it so that I didn't need Planchette, I feel like Planchette is a better version of what this purple is trying to do, basically. But I almost forgot to swatch this, so I did want to show you that comparison. Not that this is available anymore. The Cleona shade is not available. They're not selling their mattes right now. But it is in my collection, so I did want to show that comparison. Okay, I'm going to go ahead now and wash off all of these comparison mattes, and we're going to move on to the shimmers, because I want to talk about the lack of pastel shimmers on the market and how you can have a pastel shimmer just by owning these beautiful pastel mattes. On the topic of shimmers, I actually think that a bonus point to the Creepy Cute palette is that it doesn't have any shimmers, because I have yet to see any pastel shimmer on the market that hits the right note for me. Like again, I am very picky, so if you just want a light toned color, you'll definitely find that. Like I don't think that that's hard to find. It's just like trying to find something similar to this where it's like a vibrant white base and sparkly is very hard. I mean, it's even hard for matte shades. I feel like SHROUD Cosmetics is the only ones that really nailed down the formula, and TERRA MOONS. But yeah, neither of the brands have like pastel shimmers that I feel like are these kind of vibrant pastel shimmers. Now what's really nice and is often paired with pastels is duochromes. Now duochromes, because they have that really flash of like golden yellow, especially if they're like the ones in the Give Me Glow palette that had duochromes in it, that kind of flash of yellow gives the effect or almost the vibe of something being lighter in pastel while still maintaining the vibrant base of whatever the color is. So that's why they really do pair well with pastel palettes. I think even Violet Voss had a palette. It wasn't a pastel. I don't think the colors in that palette, I wouldn't count them personally as pastels. They're more vibrant. But the shimmer row of like golden duochromes definitely tempted me at one point because it does have that like vibe of being pastel without being pastel, you know? But I think the best way to be able to have the true vibrant pastels and shimmers is to layer iridescent multichromes or duochromes over these kinds of matte bases. So what you want to do is you don't want to actually directly swipe those shimmers over these mattes. I will demonstrate to you why you don't want to. Basically, what ends up happening is that because the pastel mattes are this very powdery formulation, if you try to swipe a shimmer on top of it, like a iridescent multichrome, they're not going to mix well and they're just going to fly off of each other. They just won't like bind together. So what you want to do is you want to put the pastel matte all over the lid or swipe it, and then you want to get a glitter glue, tap that all over, and then you want to put the iridescent multichrome. So let me just show you an example of this. So let's say we have Twilight. So I'm going to do 2 swatches of Twilight. And so now we want an iridescent, vibrant pastel shimmer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my collection of single shadows. So I would go with Gilding. Gilding is like this brilliant golden silver with like blue and green in it. And I'll just show you that if you were to swatch it over top, do you see what's happening? It's somewhat mixing, but it's like, is it really a shimmer? It's looking patchy. It doesn't look great. But I'm going to go ahead with NYX Glitter Glue on top of the matte shade. I'm going to get a little bit more. And then I'm going to go into Gilding again. So what you end up with is a pastel. You can see when the light's not shining, we have a vibrant pastel, but it has the shine and like sparkle of a shimmer. So that is the difference of layering with the glitter glue between the 2 shadows versus letting it mix in. And this is not the case for all matte shadows. So if you watched my video where I tried to see which iridescent multichromes in the Cliona line dupe the jeweled multichromes, I was layering all of the eyeshadows over matte bases, and there was one part of the video where I compared it over different types of matte bases, like a black that was shimmery, a black that was matte, and the black that was matte, it actually was okay. The iridescent shadows could mix into the matte shadow and it would still look like an eyeshadow. It wouldn't become this kind of patchy situation, but I think it's because pastels are just quite dry that it's just more difficult to be able to just like tap them on top. And anyways, on your eyes, you don't want fallout anyway, so it's good to have a primer. But sometimes I go in with like multichromes on my eyes without a primer if I just want like a very dispersed sparkly effect. But in these cases where there's pastels, I do recommend that you put a primer between, kind of like a sandwich between the shimmer and the pastel matte. I'm going to do this for all of the colors and pair them with all of the iridescent multichromes that I have over here, and we can see what kind of shimmer pastel eyeshadows I'm able to play with in my collection. And you know, this is again, it ties back to the notion of buying things that are versatile, because these iridescent multichromes have so many uses. Just by the fact that they don't have bases, you're able to do so much with them and create so many different types of eyeshadows with them, whether you mix them with other colors. And in this case, you're able to maintain that really unique pastel, vibrant, matte base that Cupid Cute has made, while also having a shiny reflect to it. Yeah, just another reason to absolutely love iridescent multichromes and other toppers like that. If you're new to my channel and you're wondering why I'm swatching these on my palm, it's because the curvature of the palm is able to kind of demonstrate how these eyeshadows would look on the curvature of your eyelid. Okay, so I swatched out all the colors. I'm just going to go ahead and add a bit of glitter glue on Strawberry Milk and just kind of tap it instead of swipe it, just so I'm not removing the pastel underneath. And then Ray from Cleona is this really beautiful red multichrome. So now we have this stunning pastel with a red, orange, gold shift. You can see multichromes better when you shade the light, so you can see the strong red, golden, yellow shift. But you can also see like the pastel base in this. You can still see like strawberry milk through it. If anything, I feel like it's even enhanced the red. It's a very fiery red. Like if I were to swatch Ray alone, I mean, you can see in previous videos I've swatched Ray before, but just to demonstrate it. Do you see the difference? Like this is definitely a pastel pink, really vibrant pastel pink with a shift to it. It's not all just like Ray doing that. It's like definitely the pastel vibrancy is like coming through. How pretty is that? Oh my goodness. It's gorgeous. Throughout this whole video, I keep mentioning like the neutralness of this pink. It makes me feel like it's a pastel red, even though it is a pink. So I did go in with Ray over top of it because that's how I would probably use it. But I could have gone over it with Aura, because Aura has more of that hot pink effect to it. It has made Strawberry Milk look a bit more like it's a cool tone pink. Yeah, definitely really fun. I mean, again, another bonus point, you can have both of these shades. You know, you don't have to choose which iridescent multichrome to pair with which one. Every time you do a new look, you can pair different colors. It doesn't even have to be within the same color family. Like you could choose to do purple over the Strawberry Milk pink. The only thing to note when you use different color families is that the shine is always going to be strongest when you pair the same color family. Like the color is going to be more vibrant. And once you start to dabble in like different color families, like if I were to put, let's say, the green over Strawberry Milk, because green and pink are tones that cancel each other out, what's going to happen is the green and the shimmer is just going to become more muted, and it might just look a bit more silvery rather than like a shiny green over top of a pastel red. So that is just something to note, but I do want to like have the most vibrant, shimmery pastel. So for these swatches, I'm going to go and pair them directly with their like counterpart iridescent multichrome that's in the same color family. So I'm going to go ahead and take Halo for the orange shade. We just gained this vibrant shimmer shift. So Halo is one that has orange and green in it and gold. But yeah, you can still get the feeling that it is a pastel color. I feel like that's the thing that I don't want to lose. Alright, next let's do Twilight, the yellow. Given that I already did it with Gilding, maybe we can try a different color. How about Phoenix? Now Phoenix might turn it orangey, so let's just play around. Ooh, that is so beautiful. Wow. Oh, but that's another thing about Phoenix. It has a bit of a blue base to it. Like you can still see the pastel yellow. And then the shine is just this brilliant orange, but then like the blue kind of hides the pastel base. It's like counteracting it a little bit. I will mention at the end, or I'll demonstrate at the end, something that I have found that may help this shade. Or should I show you it right now? Okay, I have found out, I was doing some mixing and I found out that fairy lights, which is like this iridescent, soft, like ivory white, when I mix that with iridescent multichromes, it kind of pastelifies them. I will say I would only take the tiniest bit of it, so let me try to see if that helps this. Oh yeah, that did it. That definitely did it. So we still have that shimmery, shiny shade, but it's just not as vibrant. So I think that's like another trick that you can use if you have a topper white shade. That's, again, it has to have like a clear base to help if you feel like the iridescent multichromes are too vibrant, you know, like if that starts to take your pastel shimmer to like an area where it's too vibrant, that's what you can do to kind of help tone it down a little bit. But I'm loving the way these other two look. Like, I don't feel like I need to dull those down. I think because Twilight is like a yellow, it just was kind of being overtaken by Phoenix. But like here, I don't feel like it's overtaken by gilding. So it also just depends on the color that you're playing with, you know? Let's do the lime green. So I think for this one, I'm going to go with Luxe because Luxe is this beautiful lime green, gold, blue, purple shade. But I think the dominant shade in it is the lime green. So you can definitely be liberal with the glitter glue just because you don't want your finger to be too sticky and then you're pulling up the pastel mat. So here's Luxe. Wow. Wow. Oh gosh, that is so beautiful. I mean, that is stunning. Look at that color. Oh my goodness. You can definitely see the aqua from Luxe coming through. But there is also like the lime green that is so shiny. Ooh, it's so pretty. Okay, so those are our pastel shimmers for the warm tones. I'm going to go ahead and swatch the cool tones on the other side so we can top those as well. Okay, time to make these pastel mattes look more like pastel shimmers. Okay, I'm going to go ahead with phosphorescent. It's like a blue, green, purple shade. It's a really cool effect. I mean, from my angle, I can even see the purple really come through. Wow, this is like so pretty. I think I might go ahead with Luxie from Shine by SD over Cold Shoulder. It's very similar to Phosphorescent. I have a whole swatch video that you can look through. My series on the swatches of all the multichromes, but it's just slightly different, so let's just try it out over Cold Shoulder. Although Cold Shoulder is definitely more of a blue than a green, right? But I just want to kind of play around with this. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, it has a different effect to it. It really pulls out the blue more, and it pulls out a more cool tone purple than the green above it. Do you see that? Like the difference in the purple tones and in the blue tones. So, so pretty. So, so pretty. And again, like this is still a pastel blue, you know, like it's maintaining that. I've actually done a short video with this combo, this blue and then glow on top. It also has like a pastel purple kind of showing through now on the edges, which is so interesting because normally that purple I feel like is more vibrant. You see like right there with the blue? So pretty. And then the last one for planchette, we're gonna go with UV. UV is a really strong purple. I think that made planchette even more pastel. I don't know how it did that. It's really, really pretty. It's definitely giving that gorgeous shine. Now UV is a purple to peach, so you can see that UV shine right there. And then the peach is harder to see. It kind of just becomes my skin tone. Here are all of the shades. When you top the iridescent multichromes over the creepy cute TERRA MOONS pastel palette that I've created, these are beautiful, beautiful shimmers. I mean, I hope they're coming across on camera. These are beautiful pastel multichrome shimmers. Wow. I can't wait to put these like all over my eyes. I'm gonna go and turn on some artificial warm room lighting. That tends to help let sparkles show more. So here you can see more of the effect of the shine and sparkle. Okay, I think the last thing that I want to show you guys, I mean, oh my gosh. I'm like trying to remember I'm filming a video, but also this is so pretty. These are the best pastel shimmers. Oh my goodness. Okay. I want to make sure that I also show you guys the effect of fairy lights. Like, let's try it out with a couple other iridescent shadows because these are all very vibrant iridescent multichromes. So if you are feeling like maybe it's too vibrant, like maybe like this green is too vibrant or something, you can pastelify the iridescent multichrome before you put it over the pastels. Because there aren't many pastel multichromes. I think the only one that I would consider close to a pastel would be gloaming. So gloaming is like a very soft pink, like a baby pink and a gold. Just turned off that light so we can see the colors again because that's what I'm trying to show you right now. Do you see how that's like a baby pink compared to these vibrant like hot pinks and reds? This is much softer of a pink. So it gives me like a pastel vibe, you know? Even like the green and the gold in it is very soft. But if you want that effect, you can get this multichrome or you can pastelify using an iridescent white eyeshadow. So let me try it out with UV. So let's try, I'm gonna put UV here again. Okay, so we can see that UV is quite a vibrant purple. So I went into fairy lights and you can see how like vibrant a UV shift is here versus how it is now. It's like a softer purple shift to it. And so that's what you can do when you use something like an iridescent white. I kind of want to test it out as well with Ray. Just because again, this is like a super vibrant red. Okay, so I'm just going to go over the bottom swatch and like rub it in a bit. Yeah, do you see how the red here is much more red than here? It's like a pink now. And then at the top, the orange is more like a yellow. So there's still a shift, you can still see, but it's just a very softer version. Now, I personally likely won't pastelify any of these because, again, I'm kind of looking for the vibrant pastel. So I want to maintain a vibrant shine, and then the pastel bases are where the pastel effect comes in. But if you want a pastel shine over a vibrant base, you're kind of doing the same thing that people do when they make the duochromes, where like if it's like a gold duochrome, it feels pastel because the shine is like this bright yellow, and so it gives a pastel effect. But what I couldn't really find on the market was like the reverse. Like, this is what I want, like a vibrant shine with a pastel base. And so it's hard to do that, but you can do it if you have a very nice vibrant pastel matte formula and you top it with a primer and then put your iridescent vibrant multichromes on top. So you're gonna have to be pretty pastel obsessed, I feel like, to have really enjoyed this video as much as I have, diving deep into what makes pastel mattes good, what makes them versatile, what makes these iridescent multichromes give us like a new ability to create pastel shimmers. And you know, I would love to hear if you do try something like this out. Maybe before I close off on the pastel shimmers part, I can give you some swatches of like pastel-based multichromes. So Ceres from TERRA MOONS is a beautiful pastel periwinkle with a strong orange shift to it. And so this one, I'm just swatching it next to the periwinkle that we have made. It's more of a vibrant periwinkle, but the shine on it is like this brilliant peach, and it also has like a soft pink shine to it. So here you can see more of like that pink and then more of that gold over top that base. It's absolutely beautiful. I have this all over the lid. I did an eye look. I'll put the picture on the screen. I have this all over the lid with Daydreamer, the pastel matte here in the crease, and they do pair up beautifully. Glazed has more of a warm purple base. This one has a pastel base to it. Like it is light. I don't know if I'd call it vibrant pastel, but it is a lighter base. As you can see, it's not as deep as the one in Ceres. And it has a pink and gold shift, and it's more of like a cool tone pink. And then there's gold on the edges. As we can do CL. This is pretty much a very soft blue with a gold shift. So it would not be a vibrant pastel to me. It's actually muted. As you can see, the base is super muted, almost translucent, and then it has that gold shift. But I feel like some people would call that a pastel, which is why I'm just swatching it right now. And maybe lastly, we have Sunbeam. And again, I think these are all falling under the fact that the shift for all of these is like a golden or a light orange. It's just the shift itself is what's really making it pastel. And then the base, this one is kind of sheer the same way that CL is. Yeah, I wouldn't call this a vibrant pastel per se. It's these are all beautiful pastels. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love these in my collection as very light, kind of soft pastels. They're beautiful. I guess I was just like looking for vibrant pastels, and that's the only thing that like you can't find really on the market if you're being very picky like me. But yeah, these are all stunning, stunning colors, and you can see these all swatched more close up, and I point out all the shifts in their dedicated videos, which is why I'm just kind of like doing this for myself too, just to see. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Okay, I feel like I can wrap up the video now. I feel like I've done all the comparisons. I hope the timestamps helped if you are kind of bouncing around on different parts of the topic. If you're a pastel lover, I hope this was helpful so that you can figure out what mattes to get, what shimmers to get, or just like what to reflect on. Like maybe you didn't consider something about pastel eyeshadows and this just made you realize or learn something new about them. I'm always learning, you know, in these videos as well. And I'm just super satisfied and excited that I have these pastel shimmers as well as my pastel mattes, because honestly, Daydreamer was holding the fort down for the past like 2 years as I've been like patiently waiting for all these other pastels to join my collection. and I can't wait to dive into all of these and do so many looks with them and include them in future build your own palettes because I love doing that. So yes, these will be heavily featured on my channel, so definitely stay tuned to see me play way more with these and do a bunch of eye looks with these. But other than that, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please do give it a like, and if you'd like to see more content like this, really deep dives into color theory, into like the way that eyeshadows can mix and layer, then definitely do subscribe because that is kind of the essence of my channel. Yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!